All right, welcome to Frank Teaches DevOps, my lovely viewers. Man, thank you for all your support and for all you do to making sure that Frank Teaches DevOps is moving. All right, so guys, I am bringing you AWS DevOps. I'm bringing you something new on the block. All right, something very new on the block. Not that it's new, but within Frank Teaches DevOps. All right. Sorry, I said Azure, AWS DevOps. All right. So all the while, you may have seen us, hopping around open source DevOps. All right, talking about open source tools. Okay, open source tools. But for the past few weeks, all right, we have been working tirelessly to making sure that we bring something very new to our subscribers, our viewers, as well as our students, right? And that thing is AWS DevOps. All right. So in AWS DevOps, we've seen a lot, all right, a lot around AWS DevOps. So in AWS DevOps, we have major tools like one is code commits. Code commit is like your normal it's your version control system, right? Where you keep track of your code changes. Okay, you keep track of your code changes within your version control system. That's actually version control system. All right. So code commit is like GitHub, GitLab CI. All right. Yeah, that's what code commit is. So, all right. Yeah. So the next service within AWS DevOps is CodeBuild. CodeBuild is a cloud-based build service. All right. CodeBuild is a cloud-based build service. All right. So in as much as today's video is not directly in quotes an AWS DevOps kind of, all right, but to talk about these tools, there's no way we can talk about these tools without mentioning AWS DevOps code pipeline. All right. So this is where you actually define the pipeline. All right. Great. Then the last on that list is code something. Can I check? Let me check quickly. Let's check quickly. Let me go to. Let's come to. Bam 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 bam. Let's come to. Code commits. Let me check. There are 4. And code deploy. Yes, code deploy. There are even 5 code artifacts. So right. So code artifacts. We have code deploy when you perform the actual deployment, and code artifacts. Code artifact. So your code artifact is a typical example of maybe your things like your Nezos, right? It does things in Nezos where you save your artifacts, right? Your compiled code as artifacts, right? Save them there, and you want to likely use them, all right? So example, you can say Nezos. Nezos, yes, please. Nezos. I hope I have that spelling correctly. All right. So these are the building blocks of AWS DevOps, and they are just within one area, right? So here it is. Here it is. You have code commits, code artifacts, code build, code pipeline, and code deploy. All right, and code deploy. So guys, we would be in today's video, we'll be looking at code deploy. Sorry, code build. Sorry, guys, code build. Now, in our previous video, we talked about code commit. All right. And if you've not watched that video, it's a good watch, guys. All right. So code commit is a good watch. So quickly, let me just show us something. View channel, code commit. If you've not watched this video, guys, you better go and watch this video. Don't this guy. Code commit. Here it is. AWS code commit hands-on DevOps training. If you not watch the video, then you are standing on the fence. You are sitting on the fence, right? You need to go and watch my video I did on what code commit so that you will be in sync. All right, so that you'll be in sync. So you see the connection between from code commit into code build, then code pipeline, code deploy, and maybe code artifact. All right, so great. So now, what actually is code deploy? Let's I've opened something down. This is AWS documentation on AWS code deploy. All right. The code deploy, as we are told, is a fully managed build service in the cloud. It's a build service in the cloud, right? Code deploy compiles the source code, runs unit tests, and produces artifacts that are ready to deploy. Code deploy eliminates the need to provision, manage, and scale your own build servers, right? So code deploy is something that it has similar kind of functionality with things like Maven, Gradle, Ants, right? These are build tools, NPM, all right? These are build tools. They are build tools that we use on premise, and most of them are open sources. However, code deploy is AWS own, and they have that kind of level of functionality, but it is solely within the cloud, right? Solely within the cloud. So this is how to run code deploy, web service, CLI, blah 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 blah, code deploy, blah 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 blah. So in code deploy, you can source, build, test, deploy, right? Using code deploy, you can do all of that, right? So now in today's video, what we'll be doing solely is how do we, because all of my codes are going to be resident on AWS. So I'll have my code base on code commits. My code base will be on code commits. All right. I have my code base here. Code base. Okay. My code base will be here. Then I'm going to use code build to pull this code. There'll be a connection between the code base in code commits and what code build. All right. All right. Great. Now, code build uses a special file called buildspec.yml. So this buildspec.yml, which means build specification, this is the file that you define how code build is going to talk to your application, your code base, hosted on what code commit. All right. So it's just it's like a pipeline file. If you've written Jenkins or you have written GitHub Actions, the same way, the same structure with build spec, the YAML. All right. So we're going to be before we start writing our build spec, we're going to show us the structure. All right, the structure of a build spec, how a build spec originally is, how a build spec is structurized. All right, it's structured. All right. Then after that, we shall now use the structure to start writing the content and what we want. All right. So in today's video, all right, I have my code on code commit. My code is on code commit. Code commit. All right. Now, in this code, I have the code, the raw code. Then I also have a Docker file. Yes, I have my codes. Then I also have a Docker file. Great. I also have a Docker file in my repository. This is my repository, right? Great. Now, somewhere I have my what? Code build. All right. So now I also have one more file called the build spec. Build spec.yml. So these are the three major set of files. First, I have my build spec.yml, I have my Docker file, and I have my codes. So I've written a Docker file for the code base. Great. Then I also have a build spec.yml that is going to be used by what? CodeBuild to build this whole application. Dockerize it, all right, and publish it, right? And publish it to where? To let me bring it like this. And publish it to AWS ECR. And publish this guy to where? AWS ECR. AWS ECR. So I'll have my what? I will have my what's it called? My Dockerized image on what? AWS ECR. So this is it, guys. Right? This is it. So I will be skipping some parts, which is this code commit part. Right? I'll be skipping the code commit part. All right. So what I'll just do is I'll go to my, like I said, you need to go and watch the video on code commit. All right. You need to watch the video on code commit. I have my SSH, which I've already authenticated to code commit. All right. So I will be activating my key, SSH key. Please, guys, you need to watch the video to follow on code commit. All right. So this is what I will do. Git status, git remote dash v. I don't have any what's it called, remote repository on my local machine. So this is what I will do. I'm going to go to my code commits, merchants, code commits, repositories. So here's my repository. All right, I'll select it, click on what? View repository. Okay, so these are all my files. All right, so I want to remove this build spec.yml. All right, so we don't need that file for now. So let me just show us something. I'll rewrite it. Okay, I'll rewrite it. So what I will do is I'm going to SSH, right? Clone SSH. All right, clone SSH. Okay, or better still, wait to I need to get the repository itself. View repository. Okay, clone SSH. Let me come down. So this is what I'll do. I'll say git. Let me paste that first so that you see what I'm doing. So git remote add origin. All right. So I'm adding this origin, which is this, right? I'm adding my code commit repository to my local. All right. So it says remote origin already exists. If it already exists, why am I not getting that? Okay. It's now coming. I did it here. Okay, it was removed. I supposed to say remote. Sorry, guys. Right. Great. So now what I'll do here is I need to pull first. git pull before I push. Let's do a git pull. It's authenticating now. Put my password. All right, it says up to date. Let's check. I'm not sure it's up to date. If it's up to date, all right, let me do a git. Let me now create a buildspec.yml file. Here is my buildspec.yml file. All right, I need to create this file, buildspec.yml file. Okay, great. Now, before I do that, okay, let's go there. Build spec.yml. Now, the buildspec.yml file has a structure. So I'll first of all spell out the structure. The first line in the buildspec.yml file is version. Now you need to specify the version of the code builder you need to use. So previously we had version 0.1. Currently we have version 0.2. Okay, so the next line, so there are other parameters, there are other fields, other parameters that can come. You can have the runtime version if you're using a runtime, right? A runtime could be a Node.js, a Docker, it could be a Python SDK, it could be a Ruby on Rails, it could be any, right? It could be PHP and all of that. It could be any runtime. Okay, you specify that runtime, right? But we're not going to use runtime. It's just a simple build spec file, right? So the next on the list will be you can create environment variables. You can say env, all right? Now specify environment variables, all right? Key value pairs. So if you create environment variable at this top level, it means you are making that variable to be available to all stages in your build spec file, all right? But I'm not going to use any environment variables. So as like I said, it's just a simple something to get you started, all right? In as much as it's something that will get you started, it's a kind of an intermediary level skill. I'm trying to explain here, all right? I'm trying to display, all right? So great. So the next important phase is phases. Like I mentioned, when you're writing your pipeline, your conventional pipeline, your CI/CD pipeline, your CI/CD pipeline has a keyword called stages. All right. If it is Jenkins, you have stages. If it is GitHub Actions, GitLab, you see it jobs. You specify jobs. Start listing the jobs by job. All right. Now, but build spec has a keyword called phases. So in these phases, you're going to specify the different phases. First, there is an install phase. So this install phase is going to take care of any installation. All right. If you need to install a package, all right, you need to install any package. Let's say, for instance, you need to install a package, command. It comes with commands, right? Okay, let me just finish the stages. Then I'll go inside of what happens in each of the stages. Now, the next stage will be a pre-build stage. Sorry, a pre-build phase. All right. So I'm defining the phases. Now, the next phase will be an actual build phase. Right. After the build phase, then the last phase will be a post. What happens next? A post_build phase. The first phase is install. Second phase is pre-build. Third phase is build phase. The last phase is what? Post_build phase, right? So these phases, they have their functionality. The install phase, as the name implies, is to install your dependencies, all right? Install your dependencies that you use to package your application. Now, the second phase is a pre-build, right? Here you can perform unit testing, you can do other things, right? Okay, you can perform unit testing here in the pre-build phase. Now, the third phase is actually the build phase, where you perform the real building, right? The building of the application. And the last stage is what happens after you have built, right? What really happened, right? So now, let me just put this. Now, what comes inside of these stages, right, is commands. Now, commands will now tell you what kind of command you need to pass onto these stages. All right, commands. What commands are you passing to these phases? Now, this command now, it could be, let's say I need to install, maybe I'm using Ubuntu or something, right? So I'll say apt update. Okay, apt update. I could say mk make directory, what testing. Okay, I can now say, okay, change into testing, and right, so that they are purely Unix commands, all right, Linux based commands, all right, change directory, and you can do a git clone. If you don't have git clone installed, you can come here and do something like this: apt install git. All right, now git clone, https dash dash frank teaches DevOps, etc., etc. That was what the install stage. You install all your dependencies, right? Now the pre-build stage, like I said, is more or less testing phase. All right, the unit performing some unit testing, right? You can do all of that here. You can do all of that here, right? You perform your unit testing, right? As the case may be. Then the another next stage is your build stage, where you actual build takes place, right? So this is the structure of a build spec.yml file. So this is what I said. Let me just show you guys. All right. So I want to build something very real now, or something real. So the install stage is optional. You can add it. You cannot add it, because if you don't have anything to install, there's no need of adding the install phase. All right. If you don't have anything to install, please do not add it. It's optional. All right. Now, because in this tutorial, I'll be dockerizing my image, I'll be dockerizing my code base with Docker file. I'm publishing it towards AWS ECR. So in that, I don't need to install anything, right? I don't need to install anything. Now, the beauty of using buildspec, right, is that I don't need to authenticate with those services. I don't need to start creating access key, secret key, and perform some authentication. No. Why? Because everything I need is within the cloud. If I need to perform any integration, it's seamless. Code build, code commits, integrations with other AWS services is very seamless. I don't need to start configuring any authentication process. All right. The only thing I just need is just maybe permissions and roles, which we are going to see any moment from now. All right. So great. So that being said, I'll be removing the install phase. Let me just keep it simple. So pre-build. This is what I'll be doing in the pre-build phase. So in the pre-build phase, I'll be logging into my AWS ECR. But before then, let's go to my AWS account to create a repository. Let's go to AWS ECR, Elastic Container Registry. All right. So I'll create a repository. I'll come here, a public repository for that matter. Create repository, public. I'll give it a name. Let me call it test app. All right. Test app. That's all, guys. That's all. Click on what? Create repository. Test app. Create repo. So this test app repository has been created. All right. However, I will need to what? Log in before I can publish images to this registry. So for that, I will select it and click on what? View push commands. So the first stage is the actual logging in. So let me copy it. Copy this stage. Come to my terminal and come to my terminal. I will paste it. I'll paste it. So I'll start doing the normal Docker. So Docker login. So Docker login, I will need this whole Docker login dash u AWS. All right. So I'll need this whole part. I'll need this whole part. Docker login AWS. I'll copy it. Copy. I'll paste it there. So Docker login dash u. All right. AWS, which is the user dash p. P will be dollar into it will be these parts. I'll copy the lot of these parts. AWS ECR public get login password. Well, password region is this. All right. I'll copy that. I will copy and paste. All right. Great. Then yeah. Then followed by this finally. Right. Copy. Paste, bracket close. Or which one comes first? Let me see something, guys. All right. So bam, 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 bam. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So this is the pre-build, right? So the pre-build fields, I'm authenticating to my what? To my AWS ECR. Now the next phase will be the build stage, the build phase. What am I doing this build phase? This build phase. So I will be actually running Docker build dash t test app dot. All right, test app dot. Then the next one will be after building it, I need to tag it. Docker, which I already have here. So this was the Docker build. Then I have to tag it. So copy this guy. Let's copy it. Let's paste it there. So Docker tag test app, public ECRO, blah 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 blah. Then the test app, the tagging. All right, great. So after that, the next, which is the last stage, last phase, I will need towards push, Docker push, which is this, which we have here. So copy it, come over here, and Docker push to this registry, right? Which is image. So that was registry. Guys, this is all you will need to define within a build spec.yml file. It's so simple, guys. So easy going. All right. Using the build spec.yml file. Right. So I've not tried some certain things out, but I've only used this guy to dockerize my image, right? To build my Docker file, right? So yeah. So this makes sense. So I'll escape and save and quit. So now if I check my Git status, I have this file in the on track area. So I need to add it. So git add dot and git commit dash m added build spec.yml file. All right, great. Now if I do git status, it tell me that my branch is clean. Now I can push git push. Let's push and see. Let's push. But before we push, let me check something. Build spec.yml. All right, we have it there. I still have a build spec.yml. Let me check if what I did was correct. I've seen logging in into ECR. All right, outside. Okay, great. So let's re-edit that file. So there has to be this guy has to be outside, right? So yeah, so the brackets close comes in here, and yeah, we're good, right? Save and quit. Save, save and quit. All right. So git status, git add, git commit dash m updated build spec file. Good. Now let's now push git push. Git push. Let's see. So everything goes well. You can see and the beauty with AWS code commit, it takes care of um, of conflict. It automatically takes care of conflict. You can see before I did not have that file on my local. All right, I only have it on the remote repository, right? But you see now, I try to pull it first. You're telling me that the content is fine. There's nothing to pull. And when I checked locally, there was no build spec on YAML file. I had to create it, right? But on the remote side, we had build spec on YAML. All right. So I was expecting some kind of conflict, but there's no conflict. You can see test app that's updated everything. All right. So this is what we want to see. So we're good, guys. All right. So we now have all of our files, the build spec file, the Docker file, and our code base. So let's look at the content of the Docker file one more time. So it's just a simple Docker file, Vim. Just a simple Docker file from Ubuntu latest directory copy down. Just simple Docker file, all right? Just to illustrate this whole process. Okay. So now what I will now do is I will now go to AWS. All right. I'll go towards code build. Code build. Right? I'll create a build project. I'll manually create a build project. I'll come to build project. Right? I'll create a project. Right? Create a project. I'll give you the name. I'll call it let's say test app. Right? Now let's look at additional configuration. If there are things you need to do there, there are nothing to do there because everything here is just manual. Just manual. All right. Great. Now, where is the source of your build file? The source of my build file is a build spec.yml file. So my source will come from code commit. Now there are different sources where you can get your build spec file from. You can get it from S3, you can get it from code commit, you can get it from GitHub. You can see, you can get it from GitHub, Bitbucket, GitHub Enterprise, GitLab self-manage. So my build spec.yml file is on my code commit. All right. Now the repository, I will select here. The repository of code commit is where is merchant API. Let's check that. You can see my repository here is the name is what merchant API. So that's where my build spec.yml file will be coming from. All right, great, merchant API. Now, reference type. I'm creating from a branch. All right, choose the source version reference type that contains your source code. So it's a branch, which is the main branch. Then the branch is I just only have one branch, which is the main branch. All right, great. Then yeah, then environment is provisioning model. We're going to use on demand. Environment image is a managed image. All right, code uses its own image. Then the compute, it uses EC2. Operating system, I'm going to use Amazon Linux. The runtime is a standard runtime. Then the image of code build is this image. Image version, always use the latest version. Then I think we are through. Then we need to create a role because code build will need a role so that it can publish your image towards ECR. It will need a role. So let me just call it test code build role. Test, let me abbreviate, code build to ECR. All right. So this is a role, ECR role. This is a role that will give access to code build to publish the image on AWS ECR. All right. So the build spec. Now, I need to specify the location of my build spec. There are two options: inside build spec commands, or you use a build spec file. I have a build spec file already on my what code commit repository. So I'll select this, then I will pick my build spec file. My build spec file is okay. I don't need to select it because it's going to pick it up from my code commit, from my repository. Use a build spec file. That's it. All right. Now, bash configuration. We don't need all of these. These artifacts. I'm not using artifacts. And I think we are done, guys. That's all. Let's create the build project. So click on build, create build project. The moment I do this, let's watch. It's trying to create now. The project has been created, right? Now that the project has been created, we need to start the project, start the build, all right? Nothing I've started yet. So let's start the build. I'll click on what? Start build. So now you're going to see, look at the build logs, all right? The status is in progress. Let's look at the build logs. If everything goes well, we should be fine. These are the phase details, all right? You see phase details here, right? You can see it's going through different phases: submit, queue, provisioning, download source code, install, pre-build, right? Pre-build, it failed at preview. All right, let's see why it failed. When you're trying to perform a Docker login, let's check the build logs. Build logs, let's go and check the error. Error. Response from, let's start from here, an error. An error occurred, access denied, when calling the Git authorization operation user. Unauthorized, incorrect username or password. So what's happening here is CodeBuild is trying to perform Docker login, right? CodeBuild is trying to log in into what? ECR, but CodeBuild does not have the necessary permission, right? All right. So we're going to check the permission. You know, we created a role. We're going to look at that role that we created, right? So let's come to roles. Come to roles. And then let's search for that role. The role is test something. Test, this is the role. Test CB to ECR role. All right. Click on this role. Now let's look at the permission on the role. Let's look at the permission. It's trying to load policy. The policy that we have here, I don't think it's a nice policy. The policy does not have the necessary rights to log into ECR. You can see it has other rights. It can do code pipeline. It can do other things, but it cannot log into what? ECR, right? So we need more policy. So what we'll do here is we are going to add permission. Permission. Click on what? Add permission. Attach policy. Now I'm going to search for ECR. So I'm going to give CodeBuild full access to ECR. So I'll come here, I'll say container registry. So I'll look for Amazon Elastic Container Registry full access. Amazon, no, this is EC2. Amazon Elastic Container Registry public full access. Right? I could try this registry public power user. Let me try this power user and see if it will work. Let's add that permission. Now we've added this permission to this role, which is being used by CodeBuild. Let's refresh. It's coming up. All right, so added what? This new policy. Amazon Elastic Container Registry, public power user. Now let's go back to our code build. Right? Now let's retry this build. Retry the build. Let's retry and see what happens. So you see what I'm doing here is I'm manually doing this process. All right. So when we get to code pipeline, which maybe will be a next video after this video, code pipeline, we shall see how to automate the entire process, whereby I will not need to click on any button. Let's see what's happening now. It's trying to log in. Login was successful. All right. So let's look at the permission that we gave, the policy that we gave. It was Amazon Elastic Container Registry public power user. Right? Power user, guys. Don't give it full access, because if you give it full access, it can escalate its privilege. Right? So just keep it simple and give it that. So let's see. So this is it's now building Docker image. After logging in, right? So pulling from Docker, Ubuntu latest, work directory, it's copied now. All right. So pre-build, post-build stage, it was successful. So you can see we have comfortably, with the use of code build, to package our code base. All right. Build the Docker file and publish the image to AWS ECR. Let's check the, let's go to AWS ECR and look at if that image is here. Refresh. Let's go to test app. You can see this is the image. This is the tag latest. All right. So we have a latest tag. Right. Open latest. So this is the image. You can see now. Here's the image. Okay. Great. So let me see how I can modify the what's it called, the tag. So let me go to my build spec. I don't like these latest. All right. So there are different inbuilt environment variables you can use within code build. All right. So I have one called code build underscore build underscore number. Let me I pray this thing goes through. All right. So this is an environment variable. Let's use $1 here. Right? $1. Let me copy this guy. Build number, copy. I don't know if this thing will fly, because using YAML does not really support $sign. But let's see what happens. So yeah, escape, save and quit. All right, save and quit. So now git add git commit -m updated. All right, now git push. All right, so let's go and rebuild now. Let's go and rebuild. Retry rebuild. Let's see if everything goes well. We should have the build number. The build number as our tag. You can see now this build number. That's what we want to target. We want to target this build number as the tag instead of using latest. All right. Build details. Sorry, build details. Build logs. Let's check. Finger crossed, guys. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, guys. Fingers crossed. Push reference to repository. I pray. Okay. Build stage succeeded. Okay. So it means that it actually worked. So this environment variable, yes, guys, yes, right? So this environment variable actually worked. So if I now go to ECR, come to your ECR and come to your repository, go to your test app, I should have a build ID, guys. This is what I'm talking about. A build, a code build number. All right, build number. So if I rebuild this stuff again, it should increase from 3 to 4. Right. With this way, we can actually differentiate our images based on different versions with the tagging. All right, the tagging. I like this, guys. I like this. So let me review. Let me rerun this guy so that I'm gonna get. Let's rebuild. I'm gonna get build ID number 4. Number 4 is making sense, guys. You can see build ID number 4 here, right? So this is beautiful, guys. This is beautiful. So people, you can see how we have been able, with the help of CodeBuild, right, to build our Docker file, right? To build our Docker file, to use our Docker file to build our code base as image and publish that image to AWS ECR, right? So let's view, man. This is beautiful, guys. It's beautiful. Come on, man. Success. Post build was successful. Successful, guys. So let's go and check ECR. You should see build ID number 4. Perfect, guys. You see, perfect, perfect. So far, so good, guys. At this juncture, I want to bring today's session to a close, right? Because we've seen how to use CodeBuild, right? We know how to CodeBuild. Like I already mentioned earlier, if you don't watch my video on AWS Code Commit, please, guys, rush, go and watch that video. And today's video, which I've just did on AWS CodeBuild. So yeah, man. So this is how you can integrate AWS CodeBuild with Code Commits to perform all of these. All right, guys. Thank you, and I hope this session has been very, very informative. And I would love to see you in our next episode. Thank you, and have a wonderful day ahead.